Hello and good evening. I'm Melisa Idris. You're watching The Future is Female. This is the show where we find the extraordinary in every woman. I'm delighted to introduce my guest today, Lily Fu. She's a gerontologist and a first-time filmmaker. She's also the founder of SeniorsAloud, which is an online community for seniors. And she's also the VP of the University of the Third Age for KL and Selangor. Welcome to the show, Lily. It's good of you to join me.
Thank you.
Well, I know we're gonna talk about all the different hats you wear over the next half an hour, but I think I'm really curious to know how you became so passionate about championing healthy, productive aging, quality aging, and also lifelong learning.
Well, the short answer to that question is I became a senior citizen myself, then I realized what is lacking there, what is not being provided for the senior citizens of our country. And I said, hey, there are lots of things to be done, but not done yet, or done, but very, very slow.
Okay, what is lacking, Lily?
For example,
what did you discover?
I gave up driving. And that was the first thing I discovered, that it's almost impossible or challenging to be without a car in the city. Right? So that's the number one. So, and I found out that because I gave up driving, so I switched to public transport. And that's where I found bus system no good, train no good, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
And
you mean in terms of accessibility for
everything.
For older adults?
Yes.
Okay.
At least affordability is now taken care of because we have a discount card for seniors. That's very good. One plus point for the transport ministry.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's all these things that you discovered. You discovered a lack of inclusivity and accessibility for older adults, for seniors. What about SeniorsAloud? Because that's a community that you've decided to create. What was missing about in the lives of senior citizens that you wanted to kind of fill with SeniorsAloud? Yeah,
because I felt that there was no real organization, that sort of like pick up this advocacy for SeniorsAloud. I said, hey, why don't I start one? Get it online so I don't have to take care of rental, office and things like that. And then I started blogging about all the issues that I see around me. And that's how it slowly, it got the attention of people. And I wrote letters to the press quite often, voicing, what I see around me and what needs to be addressed. So that slowly, people got to hear about it and they joined. And today, voila, that's 15 years.
So it's a community of seniors who
right.
Is it about activities, about keeping each other company?
We have two main objectives actually. Number one, always to promote active, healthy aging. Okay, that's number one. But the other mission that we are on is that we maybe are the blessed group, but there are lots of seniors out there who are abandoned, who are abused. Something must be done about them. So this is our other mission also, that is to look after them, to help them, to support them. So one group here who are, we can say, a little bit more fortunate, helping those who are not so fortunate.
Okay. Can you tell me what how you define aging well? How you define, as you said, quality, productive aging?
When you talk about retirement planning, a lot of people think that it's all about money.
Savings,
no, it's not.
Okay.
For me personally, there are at least 8 pillars for aging well. Right, so it covers exercises, for example. Health is a broad one, right? Nutrition, relationships with your own spouse, your family, your children. So many things to talk about. Lifelong learning is another one.
Right.
Another big one. Spirituality, all that comes in. Yes, social connections.
Yeah, you're right.
So
many components.
Right.
You mentioned lifelong learning. Can you tell me a little bit about the University for the Third Age? What is the third age?
Third age is when, the last, I wouldn't say last, not a good word to use for older people, is a stage where you have stopped working and you got more time on your hands to do what you want, you pursue your own interests, and, that is the third age.
Right.
This is the time where we can really pick up, on our interests and pursue them. So that's why, we have this University of the Third Age, where we provide courses.
All right, so tell me a little bit about it. So it's an NGO, so it's not a brick and mortar university. It's an NGO. It offers lifelong learning programs for older adults. So tell me a little bit about the programs and who it is that you're targeting.
Okay, the program started, I think, in 2010. I just brought in actually by Professor Dato Aisan, of the Institute of Gerontology at that time. Now it's called My Aging, which has, which is now the National Research Center for, aging issues and all that. And for the first 5 years, they had a grant, right, subsidized by United Nations Population Fund. And after that, we registered as an NGO. Okay. So today, we are very happy to say that this year, for instance, we are offering 85 courses.
What kind of courses? What kind of courses?
It covers very broad categories, like we have health, that's very important to us. We also have life skills, living skills, like we teach cooking, baking. Who knows, they may make a, side income from that once they've learned it.
Right.
That's how we can help seniors. Entrepreneurship.
So what you're saying is you're never too old to learn a new skill.
Right.
Okay.
This is lifelong.
Right.
Yeah, it continues until you wish when you want to stop. There's no stopping.
Okay, so I love that idea, but I don't think it's one that's well adopted amongst society. I think there's a certain, again, lifelong learning is a new concept, maybe not new concept to Malaysians to adopt. And so I want to ask you how you would encourage people to approach this with an open heart, with a positive mind. Why is lifelong learning so important?
When you tell people the motive behind some action is health, right? If you do this, you look younger. You do this, you live longer. That kind of thing.
Right.
And that is motivation in itself. So for lifelong learning, stimulate your brain cells, right? Improve your neuroplasticity. And who doesn't want to, the other one is also to ward off, lower the risk of mental diseases.
Okay, because you keep yourself active, you keep yourself thinking, to reduce or delay cognitive decline.
Right.
Okay, all right.
That's a big motivating factor.
So how have you had a lot of sign-ups, a lot of registrations? Has it been successful in a way in terms of take-up?
Yeah. However, what happened was the MCO.
It
kind of affected us in the bit because we couldn't hold face-to-face classes.
Right.
But we got over that. When there's a necessity, you have to do it, you do it. So we learned how to use Zoom.
They moved it online.
Zoom. So we went online. And today we are online. Almost 90% of our courses are online.
All right. That brings me to the question. One of the things I feel, one of the areas I feel excludes a lot of older adults is technology. There's also a mindset of older adults who are intimidated or afraid to embrace new technology, the smartphone, social media, and that hinders their ability to communicate, to participate, to contribute. How do you get over that, particularly with the University of Third Age, if it's gone online? How do you get over the barrier of, technology?
We offer courses in digital skills. So it covers everything. We have tutorials on Zoom, how to use Zoom.
Right.
But I can tell you one thing, that's, I found out. When you put, what they call that, problem in front of, say, older people, they will overcome it because they have no choice, like WhatsApp. When it was first introduced, don't know how to use WhatsApp and all that, but now we can't live without it.
Right. Right.
And look at Facebook. We are now driving out all the younger generation because, Facebook is all older people now,
That's true.
Right?
Older adults have taken over Facebook.
Right.
You're right. How do you think caretakers and family members and the people around, around seniors can encourage them? So sometimes, maybe seniors feel discouraged or not, don't have the enthusiasm to continue lifelong learning or to learn a new skill. Can caretakers play a role?
By caretakers,
family members,
what exactly do you mean?
Well, family members, so the people who live with seniors, how would they encourage the seniors in their lives to adopt this mindset?
Yeah, thanks to the media, for example, right, social media in particular, I think there's a lot of awareness now about the benefits. I mean, you can grow older, but you don't necessarily have to grow old. There's a huge difference between the two.
Right.
Again, who doesn't want to stay young at heart, right? So, all these are really motivating factors, that seniors, they want to get on the bandwagon of longevity and youthfulness, things like that. So it's not that difficult nowadays.
That's good.
Yeah.
Are you concerned about, you know, an urban-rural divide? Are there?
Yes.
Is this a predominantly urban, more connected, digitally connected movement or approach?
Right. So, I mean, one of the reasons why we decided to stick with Zoom to deliver our courses is that we can reach further, wider, nationwide, and not just, you know, be restricted in the Klang Valley itself. And we know there are lots of, you know, older people in the rural areas, the villages and all that, that need to be, you know, we need to reach them as well. So this is our challenge.
Understood. Okay, we're going to take a very quick break, but let's come back and continue this conversation with Lily Fu right here on The Future is Female. We'll be right back after these messages. Stay tuned. Hi, welcome back to The Future's Female. I'm Melisa Idris. I'm chatting to Lily Fu today. She's the founder of SeniorsAloud, which is an online community for seniors. She's also the VP for the University of the Third Age for KL and Selangor. And also in 2020, she debuted her documentary titled Meniti Senja, or in English, The Twilight Years. It explores the alarming rise of the elderly being left to fend for themselves in aged care centres, removed from everything they know, from the comforts of their homes and the children that they raise. So, Lily, let's talk a little bit about that, about the way society views and values older adults or senior citizens. Do you think that that as a society we celebrate aging? Because technically aging is a victory. Every year we have
It's a privilege.
is a privilege, right? How do you think Malaysia as a society views aging?
It's very sad to say that we are often overlooked and ignored. And I must bring this up. A lot of it has to do with the media and the senior citizens themselves.
Oh dear, tell me.
Sorry to say that, you know.
Tell me what the media's done.
No, because the media kind of paints a bit of negative concept perception, right? Sometimes I read the headlines, for example, elderly robbed or something. And then when I read the fine print, right, elderly, 60, 61, to us it's not elderly. Elderly to us is 80 and above.
Okay.
So already there's a concept there in public perception that, oh, once you reach 60, you're frail, you're senile, you know, all that negative stuff. But we are not. We are the new wave, baby boomers, who are now in their 60s, 70s, right? And we are the ones, the first wave of educated seniors. We have, economically, we have money, you know what I mean, financial independence. So, and we have, you know, some qualifications, university-wise. Right? So we are kind of different, but people still think of us as our mother's generation.
Right.
And, you know, every year when the budget, you know, comes out, you know, and I'm listening, oh dear, they're giving us crumbs again. You know, I get that kind of feeling because there's so much to be done for this particular demographics. Long-term care is one.
Yeah.
And many of us at B40, they cannot afford long-term care. So what can we do about it? There must be some, you know, protest or somebody taking it up, you know?
What you said a bit earlier really struck me, that the advocacy for seniors. I feel like there are a lot of advocacy groups for different generations, young people, working people, women, you know, mothers. But who's speaking up for seniors? For
I guess we are seniors. We are not that cute, like children, you know, or like, you know, pets, cats. You know? Right. We're not so cute. So you know, look at this. The future is female, but I do not know how you would define the demographics for female. What age group are you referring to?
Right.
And I won't be surprised, you know, if you know a lot again, you know, we are kind of ignored. Because we are unproductive, they think.
Okay, all right. So let's talk about how to change that perception. I 100% agree with you that sometimes the media, popular culture tends to fall back on the stereotype of, as you said, frail and weak, unproductive, can't contribute to society, a burden to society. And there's a narrative change that needs to happen, right? So let's talk about how we can facilitate that, at least in this conversation today. What can we do to change this culture of exclusion of seniors, to consider them a burden to society? How do we get, what is the role of policy, for instance? What would you say is the role of policy?
Okay, for example, for years we have been trying, our group, there's a small group of advocates, right? We're trying to push the government to adopt something similar to Elderly Persons Act, you know, or maintenance of older parents, for example. It has not been successful. But we are hoping that with the new government, right, something positive will be done in that direction.
What is that? What's that entail?
No, we don't have a proper NGO to advocate for that yet.
Okay.
But there are many small ones. For example, exactly a year ago, some of us got together for a stronger voice. And we are the, what we call ourselves is Malaysian Coalition on Aging. There are 9 founding members, but we will grow. So together we can have a stronger voice.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
So talk to me a little bit about how, again, you know, we talked a little bit about exclusion because we think seniors are unproductive. A large part of that has to do with ageism and discriminatory practices, because you don't give seniors or older adults opportunities. Where do you see the need to bridge that gap, to address that issue?
I think it also starts with, you know, getting the companies to really change the perception of how they view older workers. 60 is very young. We call it young old.
I agree.
Okay, young. I'm 75, right?
Yeah.
And I'm still pretty fit, I think, mentally, physically, and all that, you know.
Okay.
I can handle a job. Give us a chance. Give us a break, you know. So Singapore is doing the right thing.
Do you feel like that there's not enough opportunities? You just don't have that opportunity?
Well, I think there are opportunities, but it's not given to us because we're often overlooked. Once you're out of the labor force, because you retired or you're gone to raise a family, it's very hard to get back in for many reasons, right? So it's a challenge for us. Ageism still exists in the job market.
Right. There are people who would argue, Lily, that, you know, in your kind of twilight years is when you should put your feet up and let the grandkids play around you and not worry about working or being productive or clocking in, so to speak.
Well, maybe at a certain age that's fine. But once you get to your 70s and 80s, a lot of seniors, especially those who live alone, they go through loneliness. They go through depression because children, they are cute, but their grandchildren grow up, right? they leave, you know, and you're alone in the end. So that's where we always encourage, when you're still able to, like in your 60s, 70s, to establish social connections, because they will be your support system when you are, empty nest next time, when you're older. So,
Is there a way for government, for policy, to help manage that? Because it feels right now that this is all kind of community driven, NGO driven, civil society driven. What would it look like if there was a policy intervention? What would that look like?
It will help us tremendously, right? Because right now a lot of even nursing care and the government long-term care, you know, they still go by what the government, if there's little support from the government, then it just goes down.
So it falls under the Ministry of Women Development.
That is our big problem.
Okay.
Because aging involves all ministries.
Right.
So we are really, I'm hoping that one day the government will set up a Ministry of Aging, or at least an agency or a department on aging. That's what we want, right? But there's none at the moment.
Right.
Because just to give you an example, aging, older people, they need housing, different. Transport is different. Education is different. Just take the education for ours, a university of the third age. They do not know where to park us. We are not under higher education, neither are we under education.
Right.
And when it comes to the Ministry of Women, Family and Community, they are also not sure what to do with us. Are we under welfare, JKM?
Right.
But we are not P40, so to say.
And that welfare lens, I think, can be quite damaging, because then you adopt a welfare mindset, whereas you want seniors and older adults to feel like they are, members of society that can still contribute, right? Yeah. So you're hoping that there's a more holistic approach to the way government views
Right.
An aging population.
Right.
Okay, all right. So let's talk a little bit about your documentary Meniti Senja, because tell me a little bit about what prompted you to create that documentary that looked at aged care centres.
Well, first of all, it began with my mom.
Mm.
My mom, I found out she had dementia,
Okay.
right? Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's.
So I got very interested in, in that subject. That's why I went back to study, just to study so I can understand my mom better and also learn how I could care for her and myself in future, who knows, right? And the community at large. So then I visited a lot of aged care centres as part of my studies as well,
Okay.
right? And I discovered we are being neglected, right? Long-term care, for example, requires a lot of money. So I found out that a lot of older people, the children send them to the hospital, but after the operation, they have to be discharged. But there are children who do not come back to pick up their parents. So they are kind of abandoned.
Neglect, okay.
So where do they go? So they go, and there are not many homes around. And I was a little bit surprised when I did some research, and I found that for the government, long-term care homes, only 2 in the whole country.
Well, Lily, sorry to interrupt. When you say long-term care, what does that entail?
Long-term care meaning to say that, older people, when they get old, they have comorbidities. Like maybe some of them, they have had the operation, and they need care after that.
Right.
Right? The hospital.
Like convalescence, somewhere to get ready.
Recuperation and all that. But some of these are long-term, right? Like Parkinson's, like stroke. It's
Right.
long-term. Diabetes, it needs to be managed. Who is there to manage if they don't have children or the children are overseas, right? Or sometimes the children can't even don't have the what they call the financial support to take care of the parents. No choice.
Right. So not enough long-term care homes
Right.
or centres, because maybe government considers filial piety will fill in the gaps, right? So the children will take care of the aging parents. But what happens when that's not the case? Then we have cases of elder neglect and elder abuse. Okay.
Abuse and abandonment as well.
Okay, tell me what you saw when you created that documentary.
Well, it's really an eye-opener. You listen to the stories of how they were abandoned, right? Some of them were even robbed of their property. So, based on this, the cases, real-life cases, right? You try to get the message out there to tell the generation, for example, take care of your parents. But most important, I tell the seniors themselves, be responsible for yourself. You cannot take it for granted your children will take care of you or the government will take care of you, right? You save enough, look after your health, then you'll be more or less okay, more or less only.
Okay, all right, so everyone has a role to play, right? So from government to family to society to seniors themselves. In the couple of minutes that we have left, Lily, what would you like people watching today to know, or to change their minds about, or to reconsider about getting older and taking care of, people who are older in our society?
I think most important is, like I said earlier, be responsible for yourself. Take care of your health. Never too early, never too late. Now is always the right time if you haven't done so yet, right? Exercise, make sure you got enough savings, and your retirement years, manage your savings, manage your money, because now, longevity is really real. It's real now. We can live more than, we were expected to come off, to die at the age of, maybe 60 or 70. But now we can live until 80, 90. So do you have enough money left? So that's why important. Money, health, lifelong learning to keep up, with what's happening. Ward off Alzheimer's disease, dementia.
Keep active
and
the brain.
Lots more.
Yes.
And have an anchor, have a purpose in life. If you wake up every morning of your retirement years with, what am I going to do today? I'm so free. Then little it get, after a while they're very depressing.
Right.
Because there's nothing to look forward to. It's a long day ahead of you, right? Fill it with meaningful activities. Find your purpose. Volunteer.
Yes.
Yes?
Give back.
Give back to society. There's a sense of kind of, you have accomplished something because you've given back. If life has been good to you, help others.
Definitely.
Right.
Lily, what a pleasure it's been to talk to you. Thank you so much for being on the show today. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
That was my conversation with Lily Fu, wrapping up this episode of The Future is Female. I'm Melisa Idris, signing off the evening. Thank you so much for watching, and good night.